Welcome back to TBQ. I get a lot of messages on social media asking me to do a video on topwater frog largemouth bass fishing. I catch a lot of fish on topwater frogs, and so I put together a video on the equipment I use, what to look for, and how to fish a topwater frog. So I hope it's helpful, and let's get started. All right, start off my equipment that I use a Shimano Corrado DC as my reel. I use at least 50-pound braid. You don't really want to go much lower than that, and I'll tell you why in a minute. And I use an Abu Garcia Vengeance. It's a 7.1 heavy. And then my favorite frog is a Booyah Pad Crasher. I have other frogs, but this one is just my favorite. It doesn't get hung up in weeds, and it catches a lot of fish. All right, the reason why I say use 50-pound braid or more is because when you're casting your frog out into what I call juicy cover in weeds and all these grass and stuff that's floating on top, the bass will sit up underneath there, and when you get a hit, it's going to drag you down, and you're going to need a strong line to pull up out of that junk. A lot of times you'll pull a bass out and it's just covered in weeds and everything. So you just need a strong line to make sure you get that out. So what I look for areas like this, especially where there's an opening, where it's matted here, and then there's an opening, because they'll sit there and wait for prey to attack. And with this Booyah Pad Crasher, don't even worry about getting it hung up. It's going to go straight through these types of weeds. You're not going to get hung up most times, and you'll be able to get it out. So I'm looking for openings. Even if it's very shallow, they'll be up in there. The other thing you look for, it's a little windy today, so it's kind of hard to do it, but look for movement. If it's not windy out, look for a piece of grass, this grass that's moving. The reason why it's moving is because there's probably a bass or a fish underneath there that's causing that movement. So you'll want to cast out past it and then kind of move it and hop it along the over the top of where you see that movement. This goes right through the grass. So I cast past. Sometimes I let it just sit and then just do a couple of pops. I'm going to do this in open water so you can see what I'm talking about. Let it sit. I usually don't do constant retrieval, so I'm going to do this in open water so you can see what I'm talking about. So pop it a couple of times. I keep my rod low and then just jerk it so it looks like it's jumping, then I'll let it sit. Pop, 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 pop. Pop, 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 pop. Let it sit. And when you get these frogs, they're going to have really long legs on them, longer than this. I always cut mine down to maybe an inch. The reason for that is when the bass hits it, they're usually going to get the back end, and if you have really long legs on there, you're not going to be able to get a hook set. Well, you can get a hook set, but you gotta wait for them to do like a second gulp on it. So I cut mine down so it's easier. When you do get a strike, you want to give it about, I usually in my head do 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, and let them get the back part of the frog in their mouth, and then I set the hook. So it takes practice, because if you try to set it as soon as they do the strike, 9 times out of 10 you're gonna lose them. Which, if you've seen other videos of mine, you see a prime example of how to lose one, because I set the hook too fast, or I didn't realize that they even hit it, and then it was too late. So it just takes practice. But the number one thing is to look for the type of cover where the bass will be sitting. Like all this grass here where the wind's blowing on it is perfect. Now, fishing with a frog is not a year-round thing. I usually start when it starts getting a little warmer, and then I stop basically when they stop biting the frog. You know, it's not a year-round thing. You're not going to typically get, I'm not going to say you're not going to, but you're not typically going to get frog bites in the winter or cold months, because they're deeper. But right now, it's May, and they're shallow. Pop, 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 let it sit. And even when you get to where all this debris is, don't stop, don't all of a sudden reel in real fast, because a lot of times they'll pop right up out of that stuff and get your frog. So don't be worried about slinging it up into this grass just like that. Today is not the ideal day for frogging because the wind's kind of high. We'll see if we can get something. So if you look over here where there's these reeds are all piled up here, but there's some openings at the top of the water. So what you want to do is you want to cast past it and then go kind of slow when you get to those areas over the where it opens up, because a lot of times they'll be sitting right up in there. Let them sit a minute and just keep it. The thing is being visual. Watch for wake, the water moving, which would indicate that there's a bass eyeballing your frog. We're moving toward it. Even over this sludge, you can just move it slowly, because the bass will sit up underneath there. They're predatory, so they'll sit up underneath there and snatch them up when they... There we go. That's how you do it.